Reddit, I need your help. I'm currently facing an issue with my family and my in-laws regarding the holidays, specifically Christmas. To provide some context, I am originally from the West Coast of the US and currently live on the East Coast, away from the rest of my family, which is about a 5-hour plane ride, so not a short distance at all, with my wife and our brand new daughter. My wife and I also have an arrangement that we travel to my family for the holidays for every other holiday, meaning we are on the West Coast every other Thanksgiving and every other Christmas. This is something that we agreed to when we got married 2 years ago and as a couple for the last 6 years. Another important fact is that my wife and I both come from big families with lots of big, passionate personalities and people who wish to be involved in our lives, especially since we have a new 1-month-old daughter. This year, my mom didn't have somewhere to go for Christmas because my sister, 33 years old, is traveling to the Midwest for Christmas to see her husband's family with their kids. My parents are divorced, so obviously my mom and dad aren't going to spend Christmas together. And there aren't really any aunts, uncles, or other extended family my mom can spend Christmas with where she lives. So, my mom brought up the idea of potentially coming to have Christmas out here on the East Coast. I'd be happy to have her at my house for Christmas, but my in-laws almost always host Christmas at their house with all of their kids and grandkids, about 18 people in all. Having separate Christmases at my house and at my in-laws is out of the question because my wife said absolutely not. And what would the point be if everyone isn't together? My wife told my mother-in-law about potentially having my mom out there for Christmas, and my mother-in-law said no. My mother-in-law's reason was because she said my mom isn't direct family, and she feels like she'd have to be a host, meaning she'd have to make sure my mom is comfortable, happy, entertained, having a good time, etc., which would essentially be a huge source of stress and anxiety for her. According to my mother-in-law, Christmas is the one holiday where she feels like she can truly relax and be comfortable around her kids and her grandkids, instead of worrying about guests. This is the same reason why none of the other in-laws are invited. I can certainly understand and empathize with my mother-in-law's position, and don't blame her for the way she feels because it's completely valid. My father-in-law didn't voice his opinion on the matter, so presumably he shares my mother-in-law's opinion. When I told my mom about this news, she did not take it well at all and got very emotional and upset. My mom started crying, saying she doesn't get it. She feels excluded and not important enough to spend time with her son on Christmas. She was under the impression that she was extended family because my wife and I are married, and that it's deeply hurtful to her that she isn't family enough to spend Christmas together. My mom even offered to get a separate Airbnb close by so that she isn't even staying the night over. She'll be out of my in-laws' personal space, and she doesn't want to be a hassle to my mother-in-law. She also said that it's hurtful because my family has hosted and organized joint family vacations together. So it feels hypocritical that Christmas isn't something that can be shared. It ended the life of me to see my mom so upset because I totally get her side of the issue. And it hurts a lot because my mom also said she is going to miss out on my daughter's first Christmas. My sister even called me afterwards, upset and emotional as well, because she feels like this is setting a precedent where my family automatically are second-class citizens, and that essentially my family will have to compete with my in-laws to spend time with me. She also said things like, "The damage is done. It is what it is, and you need to stand up to your family." My wife is kind of in the same boat that I am, because she understands both sides of the issue as well. My wife and my mom have a great relationship with each other, so it hurt my wife to see my mom so upset. However, my wife ultimately sided with my mother-in-law on the issue, basically saying that the holidays are extremely rough on my mother-in-law. My wife did try to soften the blow by suggesting to me that I should tell my mom to come out a week beforehand and have a mini Christmas of sorts, but that didn't land well either. I hate this because I feel like this is my fault and I'm responsible for this mess. Essentially, I'm in a lose-lose situation where I have to choose between my wife and my family. And if one is chosen, the other's feelings are hurt. What can I do to fix this? How can I get my in-laws and my family to reconcile? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. What is up with your wife and the mother-in-law? Jesus Christ, you married into both families. It's not an island. I have family that always visit my in-laws for Christmas, literally cousins, other in-laws. And it's like one big super large family. Extended is what it's called. Christmas is the most stressful time of the year for all mother-in-laws. She's just making an excuse. I don't know what the solution is, but I would say take the mom, bro. You only have one. Love her while she lives. And if they can't, oh well. Comment 2. Honestly, your mom should be included, and it wouldn't put your in-laws out to have her there. It sounds like your mother-in-law is pretty selfish and considers herself to be the more important grandparent. I'd be inclined to stay home and have my mom visit and tell the in-laws they're welcome to drop in. But you won't be excluding your mother from your child's first Christmas. After all, your mom is happy to share, but your mother-in-law isn't. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So, it's been a month since I last reached out, and boy, things have spiraled. My sister-in-law, let's call her Karen, has always had a knack for stirring the pot. But this time, she took it to a whole new level. She overheard a conversation between my wife and me about my mom feeling left out of Christmas. Karen decided to take matters into her own hands, and without telling anyone, she invited my mom to her place for Christmas, painting it as a peace offering. At first, it seemed like a good thing, right? But Karen had an agenda. She wanted to prove to her mom, my mother-in-law, that she could host the perfect Christmas, outshining her in the process. It was all a show. My mom, unaware of the silent family feud, accepted the invitation, thinking it was a genuine gesture. Christmas Day was a disaster. Karen's attempt to outdo her mother backfired spectacularly. The turkey was undercooked, the kids were running busy, and the tension was thicker than the gravy. My mother-in-law, who was supposed to be relaxing at her own home, ended up coming over to help salvage the dinner. The look on her face when she saw my mom sitting at Karen's table was something I'll never forget. It was a mix of betrayal and hurt, and I felt like I was caught in the middle of a Cold War. The aftermath was just as messy. My mother-in-law felt disrespected by Karen's actions, and my mom felt used as a pawn in their game. My wife was furious with her sister for causing such a scene and for putting me in an even more awkward position. I was just tired of being walked all over, of being the guy who couldn't seem to stand up for his own mother without causing World War III. But then, as if we hadn't had enough drama, my dad, who's been out of the picture for a while, decided to make a surprise visit. He showed up at my door the day after Christmas, claiming he wanted to reconnect and see his granddaughter. This threw everyone for a loop. My wife was skeptical, my mom was emotional, and I was just overwhelmed. My dad's arrival forced everyone to put their differences aside, at least temporarily. We had to deal with the reality of him being back in our lives. It was a weird kind of truce, born out of necessity rather than forgiveness. My mom and my mother-in-law, who had been at odds, found themselves on the same side for once, united in their skepticism of my dad's sudden return. In the end, my dad's visit didn't last long. He said all the right things, but actions speak louder than words, and his actions were lacking. He left as quickly as he came, leaving us all to pick up the pieces. But his brief appearance did something unexpected. It made us all realize that we were wasting time fighting each other when there were bigger issues at hand. So we're trying to move forward. My wife and I are working on setting clearer boundaries with our families. Karen has been laying low since the Christmas fiasco, and my mother-in-law has actually apologized to my mom for the whole situation. It's not perfect, but it's a start. Thanks for reading. My friend stays with her embezzling BF, who humiliates her and makes her owe $15,000. So I use my savings to hire a lawyer and make him regret ever messing with her life. Looking for some advice on how to handle a friend's relationship. This is all a mess, so please bear with me here. This involves two friends of mine that have been in a relationship for about 1.5 years. A, 37-year-old man, and B, 24-year-old woman. B has a 3-year-old son from a previous relationship, but does not have custody of him. This will be important later. Very quickly into them dating, B moved in with A, which was over an hour away from where she lived previously, and where her son lives with his father. Now here's the problem. B doesn't have much money and is struggling financially, but A continues to schedule expensive vacations or outings, almost weekly, and makes B go with him. He'll plan a trip to the Bahamas for a weekend, then on their return drive to a bed and breakfast, a couple states away for a few days, or go to super expensive bars, and they'll run a sizable tab, spending thousands of dollars in short periods of time and very frequently. The problem is, he's essentially forcing her to go on all of these fancy trips, but then adds her fare to the money she owes him. B now owes A over $15,000, which he drafted some kind of written agreement and had her sign it, saying she'd pay him back in monthly installments. He's also explicitly stated that he won't sleep with her until she's paid off her debt to him. The monthly payments to him are taking their toll on her. She's on the verge of having her car repossessed because she can't afford the monthly payments due to her payments to A. She's also about to lose custody of her son completely for the same reason. But he will not budge on her monthly payments to him. A is also an extremely heavy drinker. We're talking 2 bottles of whiskey a night, and he makes sure that she participates as well. I don't think either have been sober in over 2 months. 9 times out of 10, if we go anywhere with them, dinner, bar, event, anything, it ends in him causing a scene over something and blaming it all on B, publicly yelling and humiliating her until she's in tears. And shortly after, he starts love-bombing her again, like nothing even happened. But she can't leave him because she loves him, and because she can't afford to pay the remainder of the debt. But he keeps scheduling more and more things to do, further increasing her debt. He's draining her dry. She's going to lose everything she has, and he's happily doing it. She's even suggested they move out of his $4,000 per month luxury apartment. His idea, and some months after they started dating, to save money. But he's refused. She has tried doing freelance work on the side to make some extra money, but every attempt has resulted in him talking her down, telling her she'll never make it anywhere because she isn't smart enough or not good-looking enough. She's spiraling, and he's got her financially locked to him. And he's just further increasing her debt to make it so she never leaves. He does not make that much money, nor does he actually have a lot saved. Everything has been charged to credit cards. It seems like he's just using her as a walking ATM and living it up on her dime, and using the contract as some sort of leverage to absolve him of financial responsibility. Is there any way to help her? I normally don't stick my nose in other people's relationships because it's not my place to judge. But this is on a whole different level. This all seems like something has to be illegal, but I don't know what. Sorry for the rambles. It's a mess. Edit for clarification. I am in no way advocating or enabling the behavior. I'm just explaining the situation. Please do not confuse the two. B states the reason she wants to stay with A, despite everything that's happened, is because she loves him. There's also this looming contract that he's written that has her convinced that she can't leave even if she wants to. It's plain as day to me, you, and anyone else that the contract isn't worth the paper it's printed on. But to her, it's very real. Not mentioned in the first draft of the post, but A works at a bank, and legitimate loans are what he does for his day job. I fear that fact alone contributes a lot to why she thinks it's a real thing. I think a large part of the forcing her to go on expensive vacations is because she lives with him and feels compelled to go. At this point, he's already broken her mentally and emotionally. So yeah, she's not making the right decisions. I posted here asking for advice on how to help her in this situation. The amount of victim blaming, name calling, cries of it being fake, and even comments dragging her son into it is exactly why I almost didn't even post this to begin with. And also why I did this from a throwaway account. But to everyone else that gave solid advice about domestic violence hotlines, women's shelters, and reassurances that the contract he's trying to force on her is garbage, thank you. I do intend on showing her this thread when the time is right. I will be sure to update this when I can. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your friend isn't nearly as stuck as you or she likes to believe. The relationship is clearly emotionally and financially hurtful. But she is making a choice to stay. He can't force her to go on expensive vacations and whatever else. She's choosing it. If she's worried about the contract, she should speak to a lawyer about it. But even paying him back doesn't mean she has to remain in the relationship. She's not stuck. She's choosing it. Comment 2. I'm not a lawyer, but this sounds like extortion and fraud, which can both be felonies. That contract is not enforceable. He cannot unilaterally tell her that she owes him for things he decided to pay for. If there's a trauma bond and she refuses to leave, that's a problem. And you can't make her. But that contract is not enforceable. I would look into seeing if a lawyer can help. Now for the update. Thanks for the comments from last time. I need some advice on handling my friend's relationship. It's all a mess. So remember how B was struggling with A's spending habits and the debt she's in? Well, things escalated. A couple of weeks ago, B found out she was pregnant. You'd think that would slow A down, but no. He threw a massive party to celebrate, which ended with B in the hospital for alcohol poisoning. The baby's fine, but it was close. While B was recovering, A decided to surprise her by buying a new car, a luxury model way out of their budget. He put it in B's name, saying it's for the baby's safety. But we all know it's another chain around her ankle. The payments are insane, and guess who's expected to cover them? B, of course. Then there was the incident with B's ex, the father of her first child. He showed up one day, furious because he heard about B's situation, and was worried about his son's well-being. A fight broke out, and A ended up with a broken nose. B's ex threatened to take full custody. And with B's financial mess, she's scared he might succeed. But here's the kicker. A's job at the bank? Turns out he's been embezzling funds. He got caught, and now he's facing serious charges. The luxury apartment, the trips, the bars, it was all a house of cards. B was devastated. She thought they were living the high life, but it was all lies. A begged B to stand by him during the trial, promising that he'd change, and she agreed despite everything. She's convinced that he loves her and that they can get through this together. She's even talking about using her savings for a lawyer to defend him. I tried to talk some sense into her, to tell her she needs to think about her kids and herself, but she won't listen. She's so caught up in this toxic love that she can't see the truth. And now, with A's legal troubles, she's more tied to him than ever. It's like watching a train wreck. I want to help her, but she's made her choice. And it breaks my heart to see her throw her life away for a man who's done nothing but use her. Thanks for reading. I'll keep you posted. My wife treated me like an employee after our business failed. But when I uncovered her manager's embezzlement scheme, I became the hero of our family and saved our reputation. TLDR. My wife and I started a business that caused us to lose money and hurt our relationship for years, looking for ways to make things better. When we are young, we hope and work for a better future. Whenever there is a bad time, you can still work things out and create good times. In 2015, my wife and I started a business that ended up being a nightmare that lasted 7 years, losing money and damaging our relationship. Since she still kept her flower shop running, she became the breadwinner for me and our 2 children. I was not able to just close up shop because our business loan was collateral to our house. My head was all messed up, depressed and suicidal. Every time I bring up my mental health issues, she doesn't want to hear about it. At some point, she flat out said, "If you are sick, then I am sick too." I understand she was under a lot of pressure too. So I shut up and never said a word about it again. I sought help by myself. Finally, in 2022, we sold that business. Though there will be light at the end of all this. Our relationship would go back to before, but the damage was done. The magic was gone. Since I help out at her shop, she is treating me like an employee, even after work. Every once in a while, she will remind me that I treated her badly during that time, and that I was mentally harassing her. I started last year hanging out with some housewives, and when she comes home, She will complain about how other people's husbands are making money doing this and doing that. We sleep in different rooms. Our intimacy life is non-existent. Yes, young people in their 50s, still have intimacy. Every day, she comes up with a new business idea. She just cannot stand me not having a job or doing anything to make money, while I am very occupied by whatever job she gives me at her shop. In her eyes, I am just a lazy husband who does not bring any money in, and I know I am a piece of shit for not doing that. I do take care of our children's drop-off and pick-up from school, drop them off at extracurricular activities, play with them, help them study, and prepare them for tests and exams. She will discredit me and say everyone can do that if they have enough time. That really hurts. I am really lost. At the age of 49, I am lost. I really want to turn this thing around. I don't think I can do it. Every time that we try to talk, money ends up being the issue, and it really shuts me up. I don't have many friends to talk to. During the 7 years, I distanced myself from all my friends because I felt like a failure. The children are too young to understand. So tell me, Reddit, how can I change this? How do I become a better man? Edit. There were a few comments asking for details on what I did to her, and why she said I mentally abused her. During the tough times, my temper was very short, and almost anything could spark a full-blown argument. I wouldn't talk to anyone for days, except my kids. Nothing physical ever happened. I never hit her, never got drunk, nor even drank, never did drugs. When I was around her, I was just a mad, angry person. Part of that was because she wanted to start the business, believing my job at the time didn't make enough money. I guess I blamed her for my own failure. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. What did you do before 2015? Most businesses fail, so there is nothing unique about that. I strongly suggest you get a job and start bringing some income in. You need to earn some trust back that you are a contributing partner and not someone she has to take care of. Right now, she doesn't have any respect for you. I don't know if you can recover from this, but at least try to help the financial situation. She needs you to take on some of the mental load for your family, as she likely feels like it's all on her and she is resentful. Comment 2. Here are some suggestions. 1. Get a job. Do not work for her. 2. After you get a job and start to be a contributing partner, and if somehow you have the feeling that you are earning her respect back, try counseling. Who knows, maybe you can save this relationship. 3. If after the job and change of attitude on your part, she still does not respect you, then my friend, this might be over and it's time to move on. 4. And don't leave your job. Now for the update. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. So this week has been interesting to say the least. Remember how I said my wife treats me like an employee? Well, she decided to hire an actual manager for her flower shop. This guy, let's call him Mr. Slick, comes in with his fancy MBA and starts changing everything. My wife is all smiles around him, and I can't help but feel replaced in more ways than one. Then, out of the blue, Mr. Slick accuses me of stealing from the shop. He's got these spreadsheets and says, there's money missing on the days I'm in charge of the register. My wife, she doesn't even question it, just looks at me with this mix of disappointment and anger. I'm telling you, I didn't take a dime, but she won't listen. It's like all those years of struggle and now this, it's too much. But here's the thing, I start doing some digging. I'm no detective, but I can't just sit back and let Mr. Slick frame me. I go through the trash and find shredded documents, piece them together, and guess what? They're bank statements showing transfers to an account I've never seen before. And the account holder's name? It's Mr. Slick's. I confront him right there in the back room of the shop with the evidence in my hands. He tries to play it cool, but I can see the panic in his eyes. He knows he's caught. My wife walks in on us and it all comes out. Mr. Slick's been embezzling money, and he tried to pin it on me. After that, things start to shift. My wife, she's sorry for doubting me, and I can tell she's ashamed for bringing this guy into our lives. We're talking more, and it's not just about money for once. It's like we're finally seeing each other after a long time. But just when I think we're getting back on track, Our daughter comes home crying. She's been bullied at school, and it's bad. Kids can be cruel, and they've been teasing her about her dad being a thief. It's like the rumors from the shop spilled over into her world. We're dealing with that now, trying to set things right for her, talking to the school, and being there for her as much as we can. It's been a tough week, but at least my wife and I are on the same page again. We're a team facing these problems together. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.